Story 1. Being a regular, flawed human being married to another regular, flawed human being. God, Reddit dislikes normal people being married. Story 2. First up, I will admit that 8 hours in an economy seat eating airline food and watching airline movies is not super enjoyable, but overall I actually enjoy the experience of flying. The idea of getting on a man-made machine that will propel you halfway around the world in hours, a journey that 150 years ago would have taken weeks, is astounding to me. I even enjoy the process of optimizing my luggage and carry-on so I can go through check-in and security with the minimal amount of hassle. Tip: slip on shoes and trousers with no belt. Story 3. Parents. We have had some very rocky roads, and my parents made plenty of mistakes and did things that hurt the foundations of my psyche and caused me huge distress at times. However, I love them nonetheless and recognize they did their best with what they had to give emotionally. I am a parent myself who has had some imperfect moments, and I realize my own parents did not have even half of the tools, information, or resources I have available to me. This perspective makes me much less judgmental about my own upbringing. Story 4. I love putting an emoji at the end of things I say. It helps to convey tone and mood. Reddit hates them, though. Story 5. Being happy. There are so many people here committed to their misery that having a positive outlook feels almost foreign. Story 6. Forgiveness. There is a belief I see here often that if someone wrongs you, that is the only meaningful indicator of their true personality. Sometimes people make mistakes. Sometimes people do really hurtful things, learn from them, and become better. I do not think I have an obligation to forgive someone, but some of my best and most meaningful relationships are with people who have made significant mistakes and have become better. It also takes a lot of weight off of me to not hold on to resentments after amends are made. Story 7. Seeing strangers win in life. Some people are so blinded by jealousy, and it's sad. Be happy for others, and good things will come your way too. Story 8. I love the sweet and savory flavor of pineapple and ham on a slice of pizza. It is incredibly delicious, and I do not care what anyone says. Story 9. I wouldn't say I exactly like it, but Reddit absolutely hates subtlety or nuance. I am pro, anti, or indecisive on this controversial topic because of these valid or complicated reasons. Reddit's response: bigot, fence-sitter, bootlicker, communist slime, capitalist pig, involuntary celibate, Nazi, villain, evil. So many things are far more complicated than people want to believe they are, but rather than take time to understand, think, or consider that other people have different value hierarchies, they write off that person as defective or evil. There are reasons for disagreement that aren't malevolence or power and control. Story 10. Workplace friendships, or even just being friendly to your coworkers, can make a significant difference. Work can be much better and more bearable if you are friendly and on good terms with the people you spend several hours a week with. Story 11. For me, it is paying for convenience. Streaming services, delivery applications, whatever. It is very convenient to have all my favorite shows in a couple of services and to just have food delivered when I need it. Yes, I am paying extra, but what I am getting in return is 100% worth it. Story 12. Opinions different from my own. It is always interesting to hear about the perspective of someone else. Reddit really dislikes anything like that, though. Story 13. Conservatives. Seriously. And I do not mean your typical crazy conservative. I just mean regular conservative folks. I live in the Midwest and am a mild conservative with nuanced opinions and reasons for them. But that is way too rational, apparently, that I can have my own opinions and not be called all manner of names by expressing them. Story 14. Genuine diversity of thought. Having genuine, respectful, and thoughtful discussions with everyone across the political aisle. Having family members and friends of all political beliefs, and not letting it ruin our relationships. Story 15. I love my spouse and I love my children. I would have had more babies, but unfortunately, I had a cesarean section, so it would not have been safe to have more. Story 16. Kids. Normal communication and problem resolution in relationships, whether platonic or romantic. Being open about your sexual past with your partner. Story 17. Going into the office for work. Don't get me wrong, I don't necessarily want to go in 5 days a week, but a hybrid schedule was, to me, great. Unlike a lot of Reddit, I actually enjoy being around people. I also think you are able to learn your job better by actually being around people doing it, as opposed to trying to learn everything through video conferencing. You can overhear a conversation and ask questions that you wouldn't have even thought about. Also, I live alone. Having a reason to leave the house a few days a week, aside from the store and gym, is a nice thing. Saying that on Reddit just incenses people. Story 18, working in a workplace. I like having the commute to separate work life from home life. I also get on well with nearly all of my colleagues. But it seems that some platforms dislike people who appreciate going to work and believe that everyone should work from home. Story 19, hard work. I have had jobs that required me to work at a desk in a climate-controlled office from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., sending emails, sitting in meetings, sipping coffee, and listening to YouTube while I work. I have also had jobs where my day starts at 5 a.m. and ends at 7 p.m. or later. I am outside in minus 20 degrees Celsius or colder all day, getting dirty, lifting heavy objects, and risking injury at times. Only one of these jobs gives me satisfaction at the end of the day, and it is not the one where I have a desk. Story 20. Disney adults. I thought they were strange too until I went to Disney as an adult for the first time. It is magical. Story 21. I wouldn't say love, but I truly appreciate the chiropractor who fixed my sciatica in 2013. I was in agony for nearly a year until he helped me in about 5 sessions, and I haven't had to go back since. They aren't some evil witch doctor. Story 22. Shark vacuum cleaners. Although this isn't necessarily Reddit as a whole, just the extremely snobby vacuum cleaner subreddit. Story 23. Driving the speed limit. I just mind my own business and do not speed. I even stop at stop signs. Worst of all, I frequently back into parking spaces. It seems most of Reddit are professional drivers who are just better than me. Story 24. Pre-ordering games. If I am going to invest a lot of hours into it, I am going to pre-order it anyway. It is my money. Why does it matter what I do with it? Story 25. My parents worked all their lives, but their real estate business was how they made their retirement money. Reddit has a negative view of landlords, and I will be the first to admit my parents weren't the best or the nicest. But we worked hard on those houses after school and after work. They worked with their tenants and did not nickel and dime them if they were late with the rent or charged unnecessary fees. What they charge now is exorbitant, but it is what the market in the area can bear, so I do not judge. You charge what you can get. Having lived through it and been supported and put through school by it, I have a greater respect and affinity for landlords. Reddit? Not so much. Story 26. Not something I love, but I don't understand why Reddit dislikes all religions. I am not religious, but everyone on this platform seems to have an aversion to religion, which I don't understand, as they generally come with good moral values. Most countries' laws are based on religion in some way. Story 27. Assassin's Creed is undoubtedly one of the best video game series ever created. It offers historical tourism like nothing else. Sure, it's not particularly accurate, but it never intended to be. It provides just enough to pique your curiosity and encourage you to read up on some topics on your own. Oh, and the controversy surrounding the new game coming out is one of the most ridiculous things I have seen in recent memory. It's almost as absurd as the outrage surrounding The Last of Us Part 2. Story 28. Well done steak. I have sensory issues, so I tend to prefer things that are kind of dry and bland. Things that are moist or juicy kind of just gross me out, I guess. I also just like the taste of charred meat. Unfortunately, food enthusiasts like to police how other people are allowed to prepare their food. Story 29. Playing devil's advocate. Any counterargument to people's preconceived notions is met with a karma hit. Pro tip. Do not shoot the messenger. Story 30. Reddit pretty much dislikes my whole existence. But that's because the vast majority of Reddit users are the farthest left of the most extreme left, so ideal. Story 31. Religion is fascinating to me, and not just my own. Different theological ideas, art, and mythologies are interesting. I remember when I first got to college, having a discussion with a Muslim man. I was raised Catholic and attended Catholic school before college. It was neat to talk about our similarities and our differences. Story 32. The British Museum is often discussed by people who may not have first-hand experience. Some comments may seem uninformed or repetitive. Story 33. Being Catholic. Not liking marijuana, smoking tobacco, drinking alcohol in moderation, of course, being very liberal, having children, being happily married. Story 34. Myself. I am a chubby feminist. Also, my incredibly expensive wedding was the best day of my life, and I do not regret one penny of it. I also love my big real diamond engagement ring. I think septum piercings look cool. The Star Wars sequels, Rings of Power television show, and Taylor Swift. I believe there is genuine value in a college education, even over a blue-collar job, and even if the blue-collar job pays more. I think Amber Heard was a victim. Story 35. The concept of Reddit. If there is something you like, you can just go see information about it without needing to sort through a lot of targeted nonsense and hate speech. If I find myself doom scrolling and suddenly my feed becomes too filled with stories of awful people, events, and so on, I can take about 2 hours to scroll through funny stories, videos, and similar content, and suddenly at least half my feed is enjoyable and positive again. No other social media platform I have used is like that. They all seem to want to bombard me with the same nonsense, even if I have spent several days not clicking any of the depressing political content. In fact, I have not used my admittedly mostly abandoned Twitter account for political matters in about 6 years, and still, most of my feed is political fearmongering. Here, it actually feels like I can customize my own algorithm as I wish, and that is why it is pretty much the only social platform I use anymore. This is a good tip for the individuals reading this post, seeing as most of the top comments seem to come from people who spend too much of their time engaging with cynical content on Reddit. Story 36. Friends, Marvel, pretty much anything even mildly popular. Reddit loves to feel unique by criticizing popular things. Story 37. Critically examining all sides of a nuanced issue before coming to a definitive conclusion and publicly sharing it. Story 38. Appreciation for someone who can weigh options and see both sides, even if they do not agree. If you do not support the echo chamber, you are disliked. Story 39. People have different opinions and support some ideas that the other side espouses. For example, you can be a liberal but believe in the Second Amendment. Story 40. Getting banned for sharing your opinion when it wasn't even that bad is frustrating, especially when it's a subreddit you couldn't care less about. Story 41. This I agree. I love when, instead of merely upvoting, people actually say they agree with my point. People could be upvoting because they think I sound hilariously dumb. Knowing people agree means a lot more. Story 42. I don't actually love right-wingers, but I dislike how even more irrationally radically left Reddit became. Reddit's lies about Trump and hostility towards Elon Musk, along with their attempts at doxing the young men from Dogecoin, are concerning. I don't really feel like a right-winger, but I want to be as different from Reddit's politics as possible. Reddit is just harmful. Story 43. People should be allowed to have different opinions on various topics. Specifically, Reddit supports the progressive agenda and dislikes anyone or anything that deviates from it, instantly discrediting them, regardless of how small the deviation may be. I believe we should be able to agree with some of the things people believe and disagree with others without having to cancel a person as soon as they express an opinion we do not agree with. Story 44. My television is above my fireplace. My family is tall and it is far enough away. I predominantly lie down on the couch when watching rather than sitting up. There is nowhere else in the living room for it to go. Story 45. Not being an asshole, humanity, life, work, different opinions, religion, capitalism, children, communication, socialization, having friends, partying, celebrations, getting advice, help, kindness or being kind to strangers, forgiveness, actually doing something meaningful, not being political, and so many more. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.